Hey guys, so in here I'm gonna use this mock-up by this great designer. Uh, his name is Ghulam Rasool. I got it from Dribble, and so basically we're just gonna recreate this in Angular. Very simple. And from here, what I want to start doing is to start blocking all the parts. My bad. So that way I have like a better control of my code, so I can see very early on how it's going to be distributed. So I'm using Angular router. I didn't finish building out the other pages. I just built the main dashboard. And just like you saw in the design, I do have a line chart, which I use chart.js. And so in here, I'm just right now doing is just color blocking. I'm going to start focusing on the left side. And then once I give the left a little love, I'm going to continue building out the middle and the right. And then I'm going to go back to the left. And yeah, so that's how I started my workflow. I started using Sass just to give me, that in the parent-child within CSS selectors. I'm also using Font Awesome, the free one, just to give me the light icons. And we're gonna do that on hover. We're gonna have the left, I guess a little left circle just come out. And what we're also gonna have is the center. We're gonna build that out, the linear, in case you didn't see it. We're gonna use just basically vanilla JavaScript. I just went to Stack Overflow and just started looking at the dates API on JavaScript, the MDN. So right here I have my block, like my UI here. Cool. So then I started working on some demo data, such as like the 3 cards, the images that you see. So I use via.placeholder.net, I think, as just to image block the whole UI, so I know at least where everything's gonna start looking up at. So I started just creating markup, a little CSS, markup. So here I am creating the containers just for the credit card, which is just a simple div, background color, border radius. You add a box shadow to that, and So what I did was made the div relative and all its children absolute, duplicate that, and then I just changed it with the other background from peach to purple and changed the box shadow. And so what I started doing is, just to avoid having so much markup on my HTML, in my TS file, what I'll do is create an array, which holds objects, which has, so the card name, the card city, and the card image source. And then from that will just loop over everything. And I'll use the same strategy for my dates. So I'm just gonna create a dates card and then just loop it through the object that I'm gonna create from Stack Overflow and research from Stack Overflow MDN. So right now I'm working on the middle. I got the search bar pretty fast. It's just absolute and relative with an icon. Start working on the stories row with the 3 options below. And so I ID and I give every all my elements titles that I know I'm gonna start working on. And so in the beginning I started working on grid, and then I just eventually transitioned to flex. This has been really cool because no framework, just plain vanilla CSS and JavaScript, aside from Angular. But so right here is where I'm gonna start working on the calendar dates. So what I did was on Stack Overflow, I found this function which returns an array of strings of each possible date. So what I want to do is just from there, I just want to get the specific day and the month and just push that into an object. So I have like day type, day name, and day num. So it's Friday and the 4th, Friday, Thursday, and the 5th, XYZ. And then all I did was to get the two characters, I just did a slice of 0 and 2, which gave me the FR, SA, that 2 character, like it's in the mockup. So yeah, and then I just create I don't think I created a component for that. I think I just did it in line. Horror dates. Yeah, probably I did. And so from there I just create a container just to give it that horizontal scroll. And then we work on the hover. How are you gonna get the orange background? Because the buttons are gonna just use for now via placeholder just to give it basically just that. So right here I'm switching a lot between back and forth between the design and what I have in front of me, making sure everything is also like going smooth. I basically built this yesterday and a little bit of early this morning. This morning was really just the final polishing parts. So here is, like as I mentioned, my card is just gonna be just very simple. And then I duplicate that card, push it to the right, absolute top one. One frustrating part about working with SAS with Angular was anytime I did an error on my SAS code, it would just it would just cancel and I would just have to recompile and re-render. So for these line charts, I started using Chart.js and ngChart, which is just the extension to Angular. And so on CodePen is where I started, figuring out early on what I wanted to do. So here's where I'm tinkering, reading, Googling how to get exactly what I want. So again, CodePen, and then I go to see something very similar in ngCharts. So I first bring ngChart into my project. And then from there, I start bringing the CodePen results in here. And finally, I work on the transition that has a linear gradient. As you can see, the top is darkened and then eventually it just disappears. Once I had that, then the polishing pieces would be the bottom right corner with the 90%. And after that, I start working on the card images, and then the color, the opacity, the margin, spacing. Here's where I want to see if the balance is right. If it's too much on one side, does it look like that the user's getting confused? True to the mockup, because the mockup is great. I had a blast building this. So bring in the images, and we're gonna start finishing up the icons for the buttons. We're gonna use again flex just to align horizontal and vertical. And now here's where I'm gonna start changing the colors between the heavy titles and the subtitles and secondary information that we gotta display. So basically here, I started really having a blast. I learned a lot just creating this quickly in a day. Just to give you that effect of how he has in the mockup, all we have to do is just scale the original NG app, and then the background just change colors, and then the NG, and then just add border radius, add a box shadow, and pretty much this is pretty fun to mock up. Let me know if you guys want to see anything else, and have fun with it.